journalism, they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
What is your background in? Do you have a background in journalism?
No.
Not at all.
No.
So you just went right into broadcasting?
Well, I started volunteering in community access television, so the Rogers 22s of the world, when I was in high school. And then that got me enough contacts in the industry that by the time I graduated high school, could start freelancing, get some odd jobs along the way, and just kind of kept rolling along. Like, this does happen to be an industry where experience is everything. So how you get your experience, and some of the best ways to do that is to go to school, where you do have access to good gear, good equipment, good mentors who will tell you what you did right and what you did wrong. The other way is to just do it and find places who will mentor you and take you in and use you to a certain extent, because when you're volunteering at Rogers 22, you're working for a monolithic billion-dollar company.
Yeah.
And it'd be nice if they could give you a piece of pizza or $10 or something. So you do feel a little bit frustrated that you are helping a massive corporation make more money. On the other hand, you're figuring it out, and the tools and the techniques that they use at that level.
You're not going to lose it.
No, a camera shot is a camera shot. The way you frame it up is exactly the same. The way these microphones plugged in, the way the compression works, the way the board works is all exactly the same at the levels all the way up and down. The cameras might be a little bit higher quality, the tripods might be a little bit better, but the actual fundamentals is identical.
Wow. And what was your first job like as a broadcaster? Like, who did you work for?
It was in Winnipeg, for a cable company in Winnipeg that got bought out, so they no longer exist. But I had been volunteering with them for years and years and years. And when I was in high school, they had a TV show called Homework Hotline. And the whole idea with this was it was twice a week from like 5 to 6 o'clock, and it was a live TV show with teachers in the studio. And the idea was kids who were sitting at home trying to do their homework could call up these teachers, and through cable television, the teachers would be there and have them on the phone and have a conversation with them about the homework that it is they're trying to do, and it'd be live on TV. So, cable TV. So a good use of technology where you're not trying to broadcast to everybody, but just talk to a very narrow group. And I started on that as a camera operator when I was 17 years old. By the time I was 19 years old, I was directing the show, just because the guy who had been directing it for years and years and years moved on to other projects. And I had been there long enough, and everybody knew who I was and that I had a feeling of how it all worked, and said, well, why don't you direct it? And then that was an actual paid job. So that would have been the first official.
So you directed at like 18?
Yeah, 19, somewhere around there. It was right after high school.
So you got a couple of years under your belt.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. But it's so much the same thing over and over and over again. It's understanding the how to put together a story. The beginning, the middle, end of all this stuff. Knowing where the peaks and the valleys are, and how to pull it all together. And I think once you sort of get the handle for that, then you can transfer that to all sorts of places.
What's your most memorable piece of work?
Memorable piece of work. I have to think about that one. We might have to have a Big Mac and think about that one for a minute.
Sounds good to me.
Because I have to think about what my most memorable piece of work is.
Well, your order right here is a memorable fucking piece of work for sure.
So the question becomes...
What a beautiful cut, man. Oh, my God.
Yeah, one of the things they teach you in broadcast school.
How to cut a Big Mac. How to share food.
Which I never went to. So now the question becomes, this is much better on radio when nobody can see you eating.
Everybody's going to see us eating. Whatever.
Go back to the $12 bottle of wine with a $5 Big Mac.
I love the concept, man. It's Smack Talk. Every week is different, so here you go. You're going to hear me chew today. Big fucking deal.
I think the burger killed the wine.
I think it really goes good together.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
Well, for a Tuesday?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you do that?
Seriously, why not? What is the future of podcasting?
It will be around till the next thing comes along.
Oof, I like that.
We always see it's tough to always define these things. Are these evolutions or these revolutions, or is this the next gimmick? I don't know if podcasting is truly an evolution from what broadcasting was doing. Because in many ways you're taking stuff that used to have a full team of people behind it. So, camera operators and sound people and producers and directors and stuff. And there is something great about that collaboration of everybody working together, to something like podcasting, where there are, 4 million podcasts in the world, or some stupid number at the moment.
It grows every day.
Yeah. So
sure.
you could under podcasting have the most brilliant podcast of all time that nobody ever sees, because it just gets lost in the shuffle. So there's a certain frustration I find in podcasting, in that there's too much content and nobody finds it.
Do you think
promoting the podcast
that's the thing?
Yeah.
So if you don't use social media, like, you're pretty much signing up for nobody to watch.
Well, how many people will watch the podcast versus how many people will watch the reel promoting the podcast? And a lot of times it's the 90-second clip, it's the 60-second clip. Like talk about sports. I know so many people who don't watch the game but will watch the highlights and then feel that they have watched the game. And the reality is, especially with something like sports, to actually go along for the ride of we're up, we're down. The Red Blacks game on Sunday night,
Up and down.
Yes, that was up and down, right? Literally down to the last minute of the game. Was that going to be us or not, or Saskatchewan? And to watch the highlights of it is nowhere near as fun as sitting down and watching that thing for 2 hours.
Of course not.
And so you look at something like podcasting, is the same in a roundabout way, to get back to podcasting. So there is so much content out there that gets lost in the shuffle. That what worries me about podcasting is, how sustainable is it, because there is so much content. And then the other thing that worries me about podcasting is, everybody is getting paid in this podcast that we are making, except us. The people who are, if somebody's watching this on YouTube got paid for it. The people who made the microphone got paid for it. The people who made the lights got paid for it. The people who made the desk got paid for it.
We're the last one.
And we don't get paid for it.
If not.
Yeah, exactly. So we're doing this just for the fun of it. So
Absolutely.
I do sort of wonder sometimes with podcasting, does this honestly have a future, or is it just going to get to the point where nobody can afford to do this, because we actually have to put our time into going out and making a living, instead of just having some fun sitting drinking wine on TV?
Do you consider, like, radio hosts, or, what I'm doing, podcasters, artists?
Absolutely.
How so?
Absolutely, because it's storytelling. It's putting together thoughts and concepts and ideas, putting them together in an original sort of way. Anybody who takes a whole bunch of pictures and words and sounds and jumbles that all up together is an artist of sorts, and you can't deny that. So and art comes in so many different ways. To ask if somebody's an artist is tough to define, just because some people do a lot of things that I don't know if I really consider to be art. However, somebody made this. That's art.
Yeah.
That's art. Do you know who has made that? No. Well, I'd say that's art.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd buy that,
But it is.
but it is art. Yeah.
Wow. So it's not. There's no box to be put in for art.
No.
Everything is unique, and whatever you put out there, as long as it's true to you,
Yep.
that's what makes it art. Like, I like the analogy I was making with the Mona Lisa. Same concept is, yes, there's one.
Is
Mona
that in the
Lisa.
podcast, or is that before the podcast?
That was before the podcast.
Okay. Yeah.
There's one Mona Lisa,
Right.
And of course, it's not perfect, but you can't do the Mona Lisa again.
No.
It was made once,
Right.
And that's what makes it perfect. That's what makes it art. That's what makes it beautiful. That's what makes it human.
Yes. But the question I think that I'll throw to you for the Mona Lisa is it truly the best painting in the world? No.
Arguably.
Is the best-selling single of all time the best song that's ever recorded? Is the biggest movie ever made in terms of box office the best movie of all time? The highest revenues for all these things, the most popular, the best known, is seldom, the one that is truly the best. It just seems to be the one that happens to be in the right place at the right time. And we see this. I saw this a lot on radio, where a song comes along from a brand new artist that nobody's ever heard of, and you hear the song, and you think, wow, that's a great song. That's going to be a huge hit. And then it just sort of
Dissipates.
Yeah, and Taylor Swift takes over.
Yeah. Taylor Swift is making money right now. She is taking over.
Yes,
man.
I know. Is Taylor Swift an artist? Yeah.
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 Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. Yeah. There are some guys who
Swift Nation, man.
Yes, I know. Don't make fun of them. But there are some individuals who go into a studio with a computer and sort of like mix a whole bunch of things together.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know if you're so much an artist as a mathematician. However, you've created something that is art for a lot of people. Is it music? It's art.
It is. It all depends on the eye that is beholding. Well, it all depends on the eye that's looking at the art project for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it. We'll talk about like famous paintings over time too. Is there always needed to be a benefactor of sorts behind these things? So whether it's in our era now, it's advertisers. Like, so we are living in the yes. This is the era of the advertisers. You know, once upon a time, it'd be some super wealthy person, a benefactor who would come along to a Rembrandt or whoever and say, you know, I will commission you to make this painting. Or sometimes it's the art that sits on the shelf, where you go into a store and you see something and you think, wow, I really like that. I'm going to drop $100 and buy that. In a lot of the world now, it's an advertiser, and trying to appease the advertiser and find whatever it is the advertiser wants in their little clickbait headlines or their over analytics time that we spend looking for the smallest little detail on why an advertiser would pick this one over that one. And that becomes a little bit different game, for lack of a better point, where you're trying to figure out exactly what it is that they